So a warm welcome to everyone. A lot of familiar names and faces here, and hope that we form a good group today. Here's Petros from Ethiopia, Keba from the Gambia. Hi, everyone. Matsaliso.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. It's a small, intimate group today, so if you want to turn on your video for a moment and say hi, it's a good time to do so. Welcome, everyone. Whenever I see a group like this, I get excited by all the languages that must be present, all the different ways to say hello in our various languages. Does anybody want to say hello in their native language?
Dumelang kaofela, dumelang.
In the Gambia, I
Wow,
say
beautiful.
Al Samade,
Salam.
Al Samade.
At least Victoria understands this. Salam.
Yes. I think, Marianne, we might have to keep reminding those who are tuning into it that their country names to their names so that it can be easier going to breakout rooms.
Exactly. Okay, so colleagues,
Matafeng here from Lesotho.
wonderful to have you. Thank you for joining. We realize that the timings are maybe tricky for some of you because it's the middle of the day, but I want to thank you for taking up the time to join. And we're all going to learn lots from each other today and hopefully have a great, engaging session. Colleagues, today we're going to be discussing a case study in groups. And to make it more exciting, where we've put different countries together, we need to be able to put you into those groups. We need to know which countries you're from. So if you can join me now for a quick IT exercise and add your country after your actual name in Zoom. I'll tell you just how to do that. So you should be seeing the Zoom box right now with your name and your box. Maybe it's a black box right now. Maybe it has a picture on it. And you see other people's boxes too. If you go to the upper right-hand corner of your box where it says your name, there are three dots. There are three dots there on the upper right-hand corner of your box, three little dots. Click on the three dots, and you see there are options that come. Go down to rename, the word rename. Click on that word rename, and when you do that, you can add something else to your name. You can add your country's name. So please do that right now. That way we know who's who from which country, and we can put you into Zoom breakaway rooms for an activity in the right room. Because if you remember the email, we have put you into different groups today to discuss an article, and we didn't want you to have to read all four. We wanted you just to read one article. And if you are in the right room, you only have to discuss that one article. So we want to put you in the right room. So yes, Gertrude, do you have a question about adding your country name?
Yeah, good afternoon, colleagues. Sorry, I have joined late. I found you explaining, but I did not pick everything. Kindly.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so everyone, this is a quick exercise in technology. We're asking you to add the name of your country after your actual name in Zoom. That way we can see who's who from which country, and we can put you to the right breakaway room for an activity in a few minutes. So if you see right now, you should see the box, the big box, which has all the other people's faces in it. You should see my face too, Mr. Petros and other people. If you see that gallery view, you can find your own box. Go to the upper right-hand corner of your box. There are three little dots there, three little dots that come in blue. If you put your mouse on your own box, three little dots. If you click on those three dots, you can see there are options that come up. One of the options says to rename. Rename. Click on the rename, and then it shows your name that comes up. You can add your country name after your actual name, and then click on save or rename.
Sorry, Marian, where is the box? Where exactly should I go?
Okay, so do you see your own box? It's a small black box with your name, Gertrude, in it. You see your own black box on the main screen? Okay.
Under the chat, under what? Under participants?
Yes, you can also get under participants too. That's another way. If you see on the right side all the names of all the participants, you can go to your name, click on more, and then rename.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, if anyone's having trouble, that's okay. Just put your country name in the chat box and I'll do it for you.
Hello.
Yes, Lois. Hi.
I put my name the time I was logging in. Is that okay?
Yes, I see it. It
put
says
Malawi.
Malawi. Excellent.
Oh, okay. All
Good
right,
job.
thank you.
Okay, no problem. We can move on, colleagues. Maybe Gabriel, you can share the first slide. If you have trouble with adding your name, no problem. I can add it for you. But I would like you to say your name in the chat box because I don't know everyone's country. So please, if you're having trouble with adding your name in Zoom, just put it in the chat box. We'll do our best to put you into the right room. Okay, colleagues, just a quick welcome. I just want to say welcome back if you weren't here a few minutes ago. This is the Gender Responsive Education in Sub-Saharan Africa short course. And today is our second workshop. This short course is being organized by the KICS Africa 19 Hub. We are a consortium of 3 partners. We are UNESCO ICMA, UNICEF ISARO, and the African Union. Next slide, please, Gabriel. Okay, so just a quick reminder that every week we'll have 2 workshops. This is our second, and we have 4 more workshops to go before the end of the year, before the holiday season. We will be connecting every week with the same Zoom link and password, so there's no different links. It makes it easier that way. When you're here in the Zoom room, please put yourself on mute when you're not speaking. Today we will be getting to do a lot of speaking because we are a small group and we have some activities. But otherwise, when you're not speaking at the moment, please mute yourself. And we talked about adding your country name. Please keep your questions and your responses direct and concise. This gives everyone the chance to say something. And we're all here to learn, to listen, to share, and to grow. All of us are experts at something. All of us have something to share. All of us have experiences with gender as a social construct. So all of us have something to share in this group and also to learn from others. So we come with that perspective of humility and growth, of wanting to expand our knowledge. Next slide, please, Gabriel. Okay, so just a quick overview. Those of you that were here for the Tuesday session, you know that this is going to be a series of workshops. We have 6 of them right now. The dates are here on the screen. Every Tuesday and Thursday until December 7th. After that, we're going to be asking you to do a short learning exercise on your own from December 7th until about January 15th. The exact dates will be communicated to you. You're going to be invited to do a professional action plan. It's like a short assignment, a practical assignment. And your action plan will be a summary of your commitments to prioritize gender more so in your own normal work. So at this time of year, we're oftentimes making work plans for the next year. This is a great chance for you to think about how you might become a gender champion or an advocate for gender in your own department, in your own context. How might you prioritize gender more in the normal work plan that you do in 2024? And we'll ask you to also think about some strategies that are going to help you to do that. And which stakeholders do you need to better engage with in your department and in your context? Do you need to have a meeting with your principal secretary, for example? Do you need to consult the gender lead and the gender unit if you're not that person? You need to consult teachers in your country about gender responsive pedagogy. So there's lots of things you can say for this. It's completely up to you. This is going to be module 2, a learning task, a practical learning task. We want to tell you about this now so you can begin thinking about it. And if you would like to get the certificate for this course, you do have to do this learning task. It's practical. It's supposed to be interesting for you and not something that's abstract or based on anything from a book. It's based on your own ideas, which you're taking away from this class. And then module 3 is going to be a time for you to present your action plan for feedback from your group of peers who are here right now, as well as those who are organizing the session. So we'll be giving you some feedback in January and in February of next year. If you do all of these 3 things that are on the screen, you'll get a certificate of participation. And then we'll talk about next steps, what happens in February. We'd like some of you to lead the next workshops based on what you're learning and what you're doing with your action plans. So there's a lot here we're going to be doing. Next slide, please, Gabriel. Okay, and as a last reminder, we have 3 links that we'd like you to be checking. So the first link is a WhatsApp group. In this group, we are trying to build a community of people who can connect over this topic, the topics that you're learning about. So this is a better group than email. This is an easier way to quickly connect. So please join this group if you haven't joined it yet. Then we have a resource pack. This is a folder where you can see the case studies for today's activity, the questions, all the PowerPoints, and interesting pictures and frameworks and articles about these topics. We'll be uploading these. And there's also a parking lot, the third link, where you can post questions for the facilitators to answer. So that's it for right now. I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Victoria Kisaki is going to be giving some opening remarks. So over to you, please. And maybe we can stop sharing the screen so we can see your face.
Okay. Thank you, Marianne. Can you see me? Or can you hear me?
Yes, we can both see and hear you, but if your video is
Okay.
difficult to do, that's okay.
Yes, I just want to say I'm in Bujumbura and the network is on and off. So I'll switch off my video, but you'll hear my voice, but very happy to see all of you online. So let me switch off the video and I remain with the audio. Thank you very much. So on behalf of UNESCO ICBA and the KICS Africa 19 Hub, I would like to first of all congratulate everybody that has been able to sign up for this community of practice and participate in at least the first one, which took place on Tuesday, titled Contextualizing Gender Equity, Equality, Gender Responsiveness, and Gender Transformative Education in Sub-Saharan Africa. I really want to congratulate all of those that were online and those that have been able to join us today. You are still very, very welcome. I welcome you on behalf of UNESCO ICBA, as well as the KICS Africa 19 Hub. Allow me, in the interest of time, to recognize the presence of all our esteemed participants in this COP, and let me say all protocol observed. Today, we are having a very beautiful session that looks at diagnosing gender inequalities and barriers in education systems in Sub-Saharan Africa. And I want to thank so much our facilitator, Mercy, Madam Mercy Mupa Vaenda, for her guidance in these sessions. Thank you very much. Of course, working hand with Marianne and the other colleagues within the KICS Africa 19 Hub. Just to start us off, of course, we all know that when SDGs were launched, SDG 4 on education, through its Education 2030 framework for action, focused or still aims at ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education that promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all people in Africa. But we also have a specific one under SDG 5 that speaks to achieving gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. In other words, what the global agenda is saying is that we need to recognize gender equality as well as the various approaches that need to be used to ensure that both girls and boys, women and men, not only gain access to or complete education cycles, but are empowered equally in and through education to be responsible citizens in their communities. And one of the interesting avenues in Africa is through capacity building. We all know our context in Africa, and I know that Mercy tried to unpack some of these things on Tuesday, but we know that many girls are dropping out of school, they're being married off early, they're falling behind their core subjects. Performance issues are enormous within our context, especially when it comes to secondary school. Many girls are not even completing secondary school and colleges. There are several gender inequalities in education, which are even reinforced by education systems, education planning, funding choices, curriculum, textbooks, teaching materials, and limitless data or limited data and evidences. So a lot is going on, but as UNESCO, we are ascribing to make sure that gender equity and equality is a global priority for us and is inextricably linked to its efforts to promote the right to education and support the achievement of the SDGs. So I want to say, colleagues, that while we are trying at all fronts to make sure that there is gender equity and inclusiveness and responsiveness within the education sector, let us also utilize this forum within the COP to, analyze and lay strategies that will help address the gender-based barriers, the respects to gender differences, any barriers within the systems and structures and methodological barriers that are affecting us, so that at least we can be able to ensure gender parity in all that we are doing. So your presence in this COP is applauded by UNESCO ICBA, as well as the KICS Africa 19 Hub, of which I'm the focal point for UNESCO. And I know that for sure you're going to become our change agents and advocates for gender responsive education in Africa. Let me thank everybody that has been able to organize this COP. Marianne, you've done a lot of work in the background, and I want to applaud you and thank you before everybody, plus the team at the KICS Africa 19 Hub, Gabriel, Yvonne, Kundesa, Bezawit, and so on and so forth, plus my colleague Jerusalem, and also with Mercy. We really want to thank you so much for the work that is being done, as well as to the facilitator. And I encourage all of us to remain key contributors that are going to create this environment of learning about gender responsive, good policies and practices across Sub-Saharan Africa, with clear strategies on how best to scale them up and adopt them. Thank you everyone for listening to me. I had to move faster because of the network, but I believe you've had my comments and observations. I wish you all fruitful deliberations in this COP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Allow me to turn it over to Mercy now, our facilitator. Mercy, please, over to you for the actual learning now.
Okay, thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you to the UNESCO ICBA team for putting this very, very important, timely and urgent community of practice workshop together. And I also want to thank our participants and to welcome them. I'm not sure, maybe we can show just by a show of waving hands how many people are new this week. I know last week we had about 45 people. So I can see that some of the names that I'm seeing today were not here last week. So welcome. If you were not here last week, please wave so we know how many new people we have. Otherwise, welcome. May I please have the slides while I'm speaking? Thank you. So once again, maybe also for the benefit of those who may not have been with us last week, we just want to welcome you, but also just talk about, you know, creating a safe space for everyone to engage, you know, with respect and with consideration and with tolerance for each other's views. We are all here to learn and to co-create knowledge. And we know that sometimes, especially with issues about gender, because they speak, it's cross-cutting issues that also cut across issues of our religion, cultural beliefs, and all of that. So we are all here to learn, and we don't have any intention to offend anyone's beliefs, but we hope that this is an atmosphere where we can all speak freely also and express ourselves. And as we heard from Madam Victoria, this is timely work. We know what is happening on the continent, and we are very encouraged by all the people that are tuning in, which shows, I'm sure, that there's not only interest, but there's dedication to actually make a change. So for now, we are going to go into session one, just a quick overview of what we did in session one, and with some of our members who were here, maybe also telling us what they learned in session one. We can move to the next slides. Thank you. Those who may have been here, I think Marianne has been going over and over our overall course objectives, and thank you, Marianne, for that. For those who may have joined late, the main objective of this course is to create, connect, and mobilize a community of practice made up of policy actors, and by policy, who is interested in collectively enhancing their understanding of gender inequity in education and their ability to address inequities in their education systems. And the outcomes that we have, we've managed to narrow them into 3. Participants will enhance their ability to diagnose and address gender inequities and barriers in their education systems. And we also hope and think that you will be able, after this, to identify policy and practice options and planning, and also to mobilize strategies to prioritize gender equity in your education systems. We are also aware that you are all experts in your own rights, and as we are going through our sessions, we'll be hearing more and more from you, because we are aware that some of you are already planning and mobilizing strategies. So even through our case studies, which we are going to go through later, we would like to glean some of that knowledge from you so that we can put it in our community of practice. And finally, also, we've created this platform so that participants can establish the community of practice that I talked about just now, but also for continued learning, partnership building, and South-to-South exchange of evidence and strategies to advance gender responsive and gender transformative education. So what we really mean by that is that we are hoping that as you go through the work that you'll be doing to get your certificates, even in January, but as Marianne said in the beginning, that there will be these courses in 3 parts. But what we really are hoping for, especially for me as the course facilitator, because this is something I do, it's that we all start a lifelong process of thinking about how we can improve on the continent, and also what we can do in our own different countries. So starting a movement as opposed to just a course where we get a certificate and retreat back to our various private spaces. Thank you. Please, may I have the next slide? Yes, so with session 1, I think Victoria already touched on what it was about. So the terms and concepts that we were hoping you would learn more about and share about were gender, in terms of gender and sex differences, gender equality, equity, gender responsive, and gender transformative education. And for those who were here last Tuesday, you will remember that when we did the sex and gender roles, there was a lot of excitement, sometimes a bit of confusion, but also really a lot of you know, expressions of really wanting to learn and know what these differences are. And our driving question for session 1 was, how can we apply the principles of gender equality and gender equity to influence gender responsive and gender transformative education in SSA? You will see that with the case studies we are doing today, this question, we started looking at it in session 1, but it should also be answered to a great extent in session 2. Thank you. May I have the next slide? Yes. So, Gabriel, if I may ask you, yes, for our icebreaker video.
All right. So now let's bring out theoretical physicist, Dr. Sheldon Cooper.
Hello, female children. Allow me to inspire you with a story about a great female scientist. Polish-born, French-educated, Madame Curie. Co-discoverer of radioactivity, she was a hero of science until her hair fell out, her vomit and stool became filled with blood, and she was poisoned to death by her own discovery. With a little hard work, I see no reason why that can't happen to any of you. Are we done? Can we go?
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Thank you so much for playing the video for us.
I am very disappointed that
Yes, thank you so much. So I would love to engage with the participants just to hear quickly, before we talk about our session 1 takeaways. What do you take away from this video? Like, what is the message that we are getting in the way the male scientist is addressing what he calls the female students and talking about the female scientist? Would anyone want to give us their view? Are there any hands up that I'm missing? Yes. Is it Matseliso? Am I saying that right?
It's Matseliso.
You can unmute yourself. Oh, Matseliso, my apologies, my apologies. Please go ahead and share what your views of the video.
Can I use the video?
Yes, yes. You are muted.
Okay.
Yes, you can please start
okay
from
now.
We didn't hear anything, yes.
Okay, let me stop the video and do the voice record only. I'm saying, what I learned from what he was telling the students, the girl students, is that the woman who wanted to be a scientist failed and definitely died. So the message he portrays is that women fail when they try something else, like being scientists. That's what I think I had.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Masiti. So does anyone else have a view or that they would like to share from the video?
Can I come in?
Yes, please. Is
Yeah,
that
I don't know
Edwin?
if I don't know if I
No.
got it right. Can I proceed?
Yes, please, you can proceed. Who's speaking?
This is Lois Fachi from Malawi.
Okay, thank you so much, Lois. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if I got it right because my network was not as good. But what I heard, the scientists seem to be, you know, blaming the failure on her natural, you know, like the menstruation, and like I heard something like the blood did something and then that made her fail or something like that. I don't know if I got it right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lois. So this is a real life story actually of Curie. She was poisoned by the experiments that she was doing. So yes, that's where the blood was being mentioned. Yes, please go ahead, Edwin. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, thank you so much. It's a pleasure on this to be in this class. What I learned from the short video, first the presenter hears a male, and then he was not sensitive to the classroom, and you saw when he was speaking, all the girls became to look at their cell phone, and they were not paying attention to him because while he was telling them, trying to provide or discouraging information to them. That a female, I think it's better that you look in different direction and you don't look in the direction of being a scientist, because there's a female that started it and she didn't do well. So it's what I took from that particular video. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Edwin. I'll take our last contributor. Is it Sikelele? Hello? I think...
yes, hello, Mercy.
Yes, please tell me your name. I'm sorry if I got it, if I said it incorrectly.
Skelekele.
Oh, Skelekele. Thank you so much, sir. Please go ahead.
No problem. You're welcome. Thank you for this opportunity. The lesson I learned from this gentleman talking to the female students is that the female scientist tried to have some investigations, and then she managed to have something successful, but the success of her got her into trouble, fatal trouble in that, for that matter. Thank you very much. So maybe they should not try to emulate the female scientist.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your engagement. And because of time, please, if you still have any views, you can include them in the chat box while we move on to our takeaway sessions. But before we carry on, I just wanted to say that I think what also makes, I like all the observations you are making, and they're actually very, very relevant and correct. But I think what makes it even more interesting is that the actor who is acting as Sheldon here, the male scientist, he was actually there he was supposed to be there to be encouraging girls to go into STEM. So I think we also that what he did was the opposite of encouraging them. And as soon as he was done, he said, "Can we go? Are we done?" To also show that he doesn't seem to want to actually be there and he's not interested. But thank you so much for engaging. So going to session one, you know, even incorporating the video that we just saw now, can anyone tell us from session one, what were your main takeaways? You could speak to the sex versus gender understanding, and also the stereotypes. You can also speak to how stereotypes are conveyed in society. We discussed that. And also in speaking and answering, if you want, you can also share examples that are relevant to your context. Yes, Petros. Thank you. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy for the opportunity. Session one, of all the things that we did is we understand the essence of gender and sex in relation to gender equality and equity, which is most significant in our education systems, because it has implication to understanding this, the true essence of equality, equity in relation to gender will help us respond gender issues in our system. So we'll be gender responsive, gender transformative, if we understand the very essence of the matter, the discussion. This is how I understand. Of all
okay,
yeah, thank you so much. Anyway, this
okay,
is it.
thank you so much. Thank you, Petros. Hilma, you can unmute yourself and speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My takeaway from yesterday's session was that it really became clear now that sex is more a biologically determined feature and gender is more socially determined. And that activity that we did yesterday with the table where you were asking us growing a beard and all those features, when we were saying this one is gender, this one is sex, it really became more clear to me. And then with regard to stereotype, they are conveyed in our society through different aspects, whether it's culturally, whether it's socially, and also sometimes through proverbs and idioms or custom, and also sometimes in education, or most time in education. And it's really still prevalent in our education system. No, in as much as we are trying to make the teachers and the school heads aware, it's still really prevalent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Hilma. I think even from the presentation we had from the African Union, which showed us how some of the gender stereotypes and discrimination makes its way into the teaching pedagogies and into textbooks, would actually then show us that the music we listen to, the films we watch, all these things that are very entertaining, but also contain harmful stereotypes, they have a way of seeping into our minds, our imaginations. And the very important thing about stereotypes, also from the definition we looked at, is that it has a way of naturalizing harmful ways of looking at certain people and certain things to make it seem normal, which is why you can listen to a song that objectifies a girl or objectifies a man. And then now when you're writing the curriculum, it's possible that you have some unconscious biases, maybe we can call them. But thank you so much for engaging. We will keep coming back to this. And for people who haven't had a chance to say anything, please, you can quickly just share your views in the chat box. And when we do have time, we will try to make our best effort to attend to the questions and views and observations that are being shared in the chat boxes. Yes, we can move on. Thank you. So in terms of session one of the things that we were also making sure that we understood was the difference between equality and equity. And we came to the conclusion that equality means equal outcomes for girls and women, boys and men, and gender diverse people. And gender equity is the process to achieve gender equality. So with equality, we are looking more at similarity, and with equity, we are looking more at fairness. Yes, we can move on to the next slide. One of the questions that also speaks to the sex and gender roles that came out of the discussions with participants is that we are going to discuss later in the forum, but some people wanted to know, for example, if you have gender diverse students that do not fall into, you know, the strict heterosexual binaries of you are either a man or a woman, a girl or a boy, what do you do? So we hope that we'll be able to also attend to those questions and be able to answer them as we carry on. Yes, please, we can carry on to the next slide. Yes. One of the things I also mentioned as we were logging off on Tuesday is that, what I see also that Dr. Victoria mentioned in her welcome speech is, you know, equity, remembering that we are also looking at both boys and girls, men and women, and not just girls. And we do have reports. We have one called Don't Forget the Boys that actually told us that globally we have 132 million children out of school, and those are girls. And apparently we also have boys of equal number. And I saw that some of our participants also felt strongly about issues of equity, that we seem not to actually be paying attention to the fact that there are many boys that are out of school. So as we look into our case studies, we will also have a chance to speak to what we think we can do and how many, are participants aware of any programs in their own countries that are actually looking at also the boy child? And do they know where to get the data and the statistics? And we also want, especially in building this community of practice, we also want to share ideas on what our participants as well as our panelists think can be done, also based on the case studies we'll be reviewing and our own experiences to include boys and girls in terms of equity, gender equity, and gender responsiveness. Yes, we can carry on. Yes, I've already gone through that. We can carry on. And speaking of equity and equality, we also look at, I thought to share this picture because I thought that it also kind of gives us a visual representation of some of the things we are talking about here. If I can have maybe just one participant give us their views of what they think this image is telling us, especially in terms of what we are discussing or what we discussed in session 1. Would anyone want to share?
Yes. Can I say something? Esther from South Sudan. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Something done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. What I can see is these people, the people are set for athletics, running. And the 3 boys, their runway is clean, nothing. But the 3 ladies, when you look at them, there is already a barrier where the clothes are spread and other house chores are there that they are supposed to meet before they can join the running. And this is already indicating the barrier, the inequality between the boys and the girls. That's what I can say.
Yes, thank you. Would you say this is representative of what actually happens, or are researchers and theorists just making this up? Is this actually, would you relate to say see your students
Yeah.
going through this, or
it's a reality. I think it is a reality in life, and
Yes.
it's relating to what is happening daily in our community. Even at
Yes.
school, sometimes you find the teachers pave the way for the boys, and then for the girls, they have some reservation. This is what the type of inequality we are having.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think what I can add from there in order to contextualize our learning from session 1 is that this actually shows, you remember that slide where we spoke about how, because women and girls do the biology work, the biologically linked work of giving birth, that they are then socialized and expected to do what we call reproductive work. So what we are seeing in front of the girls and women is the reproductive tasks that are assigned to them based on their sex. And the men and boys, they don't seem to have the same. They are just doing their productive work. But even in this picture, we can see also that we have even moved, because historically it was also about them not even entering what we call the public sphere and just being at home. And then when you enter, we'll find that even the work that you are expected to do is usually caring roles. So you'll see that historically women would be assigned caring work. You can be a nurse, you can be a secretary, but now where the world, because of the policies that we keep improving on, we are finding that women can do jobs that used to be reserved for men, although we still have to fight the issue of unequal pay. And also, if you notice, I know in my personal capacity that as long as I've been working as an adult, I would actually have people expecting me to run around and make them tea because it's sort of expected that you should do it because you are a woman. Or if we are having a meeting, everyone will look at you and expect you to take the notes because you are a woman. Yes. So we can carry on to the next slides. So what we were doing there is actually having a visual representation also of what gender blind means, right? And gender discriminatory, and so that we would be able to then speak about gender sensitive programming that recognizes different needs of women and boys and girls and acknowledges gender power dynamics, but does not necessarily address. So some researchers are saying that gender-sensitive programming does not necessarily address these other than to try and integrate understanding of these dynamics within programming design. So some researchers are saying gender-sensitive programming is sort of falling short because we sort of know these things, but we don't seem to be seeing them practically. Yes. And then, so I'm also going to just quickly go through these slides because I feel like it's going to help us when we are now doing our case studies. We can keep in mind what gender responsive and transformative means in terms of, understanding our definitions that are currently being used. So gender responsive refers to programming which includes specific action to try and reduce gender inequalities within communities. And gender transformative refers to programming which is designed around a fundamental aim of addressing root causes of gender inequality within society. So being gender responsive then is an informed by an awareness of the effects of gender norms and roles and relations as they impact education, and taking measures to actively reduce those effects that pose barriers to gender equality. Thank you. Next slide. Yes, we can skip this one. It's already covered. Yes, so as we are going into our next session, I also want us to think about gender analysis, which is the assessment of how and why gender differences and inequalities exist. Taking the opportunity to identify opportunities to narrow these gender gaps and inequalities so that we can enhance equalities between men and women. Thank you. So thank you so much. That brings us to a round off of session 1. So in addition to going over together or with the slides and the conversations we had on session 1, I've also prepared for you, there will be a document in the resource folders which answers some of the questions that we were raising. But what I've also tried to do is that even in the discussions that we are having, I'm sort of incorporating all the questions you were asking. One of the outstanding questions was, after we had a presentation, if I'm not mistaken, from UNICEF, you can correct me, Marianne, if I'm wrong. There was a lot of interest in wanting to know what intersectionality means and how this applies to barriers and inequities. So you will see that even in today's session, we are going to be centering on intersectionality. And I hope that it will become clearer for those who felt that the concept was still a bit foggy after we had our presentations. Thank you. Next slide, please. Yes, we can go to the next slide. Yes. So session 2 today is about also a diagnosis of gender inequities and barriers in education systems in Sub-Saharan Africa. So what we are hoping to gain out of this session is knowledge, skills, and perspectives necessary to understand, to identify, and to diagnose gender inequities and barriers in our individual education systems where we are located, but also hopefully walking away with a better view of the continent and the region as well. And going back also to some of the welcome comments, we don't also want to only, diagnose, but we are working with a view of also coming up with solutions, coming up with suggestions that we can incorporate into our community of practice. Thank you. Next slide. So the terms and concepts that we are going to be exploring today, as I've said just now, speaking about intersectionality is the structural and systemic barriers. So we are going to have maybe develop a shared understanding of what these terms mean, especially in the education environment, and how structural and systemic barriers intersect and also cause intersectional challenges. And I'm also thinking that even while we are talking of intersectional challenges, we may also be able to identify intersectional successes where stakeholders have come together and put resources and built their capacities to do away with systemic and structural barriers. So an ongoing theme also from session 1 to now is gender responsive and gender transformative approaches. Thank you. Next slide. So our key driving questions for today are: how can we apply an intersectional approach to diagnosing gender inequities and barriers in education systems in Sub-Saharan Africa? As I'm speaking, if anyone hasn't heard or understood, please also just feel free to let me know so I can go over some of the things I'm saying. And one of our the next driving question is what gender responsive and gender transformative approaches are relevant to the identified inequalities and inequities and barriers in different country contexts. So these are some of the questions that we are going to be keeping in mind as we do different learning activities, or our main learning activity for today. Thank you. Next slide. Yes. So before we go into our activities, so that we can feel equipped to actually tackle the activities, I thought we should put together just a few definitions which can help us. For example, systemic barriers, right, are policies, practices, or procedures that result in some people receiving unequal access or being excluded, and in this specific case, in education, right, educational opportunities. So a barrier to learning is anything that stands in the way of a learner being able to learn effectively. A learner may experience one or more barriers to learning throughout his or her education. And you may find that some of these are gender related, some of them are race related, some of them are related to disability, it's so many things. So there are various systemic barriers that hinder gender education inequality in our region. And to name just a few, right, they range from poverty, location, increasing schooling costs, as you will see in some of our studies, gender social norms such as early marriage, which we know is a scourge in this region because we make up the highest number the region has the highest number of girl children that are either being married underage or getting pregnant underage, which is literally rape, and also dropping out. So expectations related to girls and intrinsic gender unequal education systems. So I'll say that again. Systemic barriers range from poverty, location, where people are located. You know that in some places, even in rural areas, children have to walk for 10 kilometers to get to school, increasing schooling costs in terms of fees and books and all of those things. Gendered social norms such as early marriage, expectations related to girls. So these are gendered expectations, right? And intrinsic gender unequal education systems, which refers to the laws we have, the policies we have, and the learning environments. Thank you. Next slide. Yes. So in coming up with this slide, I wanted to usher us into thinking about the intersectionality of oppressive systems. So if we are looking at this diagram, we can see that we have an individual, right? An individual, a person who has their own beliefs, actions that may serve to perpetuate oppression. And then at interpersonal level, we have interactions between people, both within and across difference, which is one of the main subjects we also spoke about in session 1, difference and its relation to inequality. And then we have institutional, at institutional level, that's where we have policies and practices at the organizational or sector level that may also perpetuate gender oppression or may actually help to lessen it or to excuse me, to make sure that there's equality and equity. And then structural, right? This refers to how these effects interact and accumulate across institutions and across history. We can carry on to the next slide, please. So you will find that when we are looking at the previous slide with where we have that diagram where we are trying to understand systemic oppression, we can start off by saying systemic oppression exists at level of institutions, right? Harmful policies and practices and across structures, which can be education, which can be health, transportation, economy, that are interconnected and reinforced over time. So for example, even though we speak about, teaching, teacher pedagogy, we talk about textbooks, but looking at systemic oppression means that we also look at the economy, at who can afford to pay fees, who has access to transportation, is it safe, who has better health outcomes or not, because all of these things actually interconnect to cause systemic oppression. So oppression and systematic mistreatment such as racism, classism, sexism, or homophobia is about more than just individual prejudices, because it has historical backgrounds that show up in our contemporary spaces, in our current spaces. And I hope this also answers another question where someone was asking, how does class also influence gender and gender roles? Because women who are, and girls who, and even boys and men who come from poorer locations, who don't have access to certain resources, the expectations on their gendered labors are different. Like, let's say we have a young girl or woman living in the rural sector, or even in poor urban environments. They are expected to wake up and make sure that they boil bathing water for all, they go and walk for kilometers to fetch the water, come and light up firewood, and then make sure every member of the family has bathed before they can even think of then walking to school. So I hope that also explains how class can also reinforce or work and entrench or produce and reproduce certain gender identities. And that may also show us that, we have different experiences as girls and women, as boys and men. Not everyone experiences their gender identities or oppression in the same way. It also depends on access to resources, on location, on beliefs and cultural values in certain contexts. Yeah. So systemic oppression is also the intentional disadvantaging of groups of people based on their identity, while advantaging members of the dominant groups, either by gender, by race, by class, by sexual orientation, or language. And as we know, all of these things can intersect, right, on one body if we are talking about sex and sex and gender and biology, right? So you can experience a number of intersecting issues as mentioned here. We can carry on unless there is a question or something I need to go over. So systemic and structural barriers are one of the main reasons for children dropping out of school in Sub-Saharan Africa, especially the cost of schooling and poverty. We have examples by researchers that are telling us that in countries such as Kenya and Uganda, households dedicate 75% of their expenditures on education just on one child. That can already show us that they won't have anything left to, send other children to school or to provide for the family. So when people are put in such circumstances, when people find themselves in such circumstances, that's where they may be forced to make a choice on who can go to school first and who can stay at home. And I hope this also shows that in historically researchers and even for us as development workers, right, we tended to focus more on saying people are ignorant, people we have cultural values where they don't they don't value certain girls or boys. But if you look at it from a larger perspective of what the economy looks like, where someone is located, you know, research is now also showing us that for that person in that circumstance, that may be their rational reasoning of where they think that they are actually making good decisions for their family. So importantly, barriers overlap and they are linked to patterns of growing inequality. And at the moment, we know that this is especially at secondary school level where compounded barriers deepen. And I'm hoping that participants will be able to share with us in their different contexts how they see, like, is the research true, which is telling us that both boys and girls, but more so girls, they drop off as we go into secondary and as we go into tertiary, whether to colleges or universities, the figures become less and less. And so we then, from here, after having said this, the approach is then to adopt an intersectional approach, which is considered essential in ensuring that the fight against extreme poverty addresses structural factors. I hope that so far it's clear that the type of inequities that exist and how they intersect. But if it's not clear, please feel free to put up your hand and let me know, and we can go over these definitions and discussions again. Thank you. Please move to the next slide. So now, talking about intersectional challenges, we have a diagram that's also trying to clarify and demystify the whole idea of intersectionality, right? Where you can see that a person will have a gender, they will have a race, they will have a class, they will have a nation, they will have a sexuality, they will have an age, and different aspects of our identities may cause us to be discriminated or to be favored wherever we find ourselves. So intersectional challenges are commonly mentioned. So the intersectionality is commonly mentioned, but often misunderstood in terms of achieving equity. And intersectionality, in short, right, we can say it's a framework for understanding oppression. While the term has its roots in activism and the concept of interlocking systems of oppression that were applied in the United States to understand the experiences of women of color, it also speaks to some of our experiences here on the continent, because we sort of have the same historical backgrounds with where these theories have been generated. Thank you. May I ask, Marian, how are we doing for time? Are we okay? Should we move on?
Mercy, I was about to tell you that we are already at 45 minutes left. So I think the time is going very quickly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Marianne. I think I have given a fair background to what we are talking about today. If there are still any questions, we can address them when we address our case studies. So if you can help me with moving to the slide that introduces our case studies. Thank you so much. Okay. So before we go into the case studies, is there anyone who feels that they have a burning question from what I've just said before we go into our breakaway rooms? I don't see any hands. Does that mean I can continue? Marianne, can you see any hands?
Yes, I don't see any hands up. Why don't you continue? And Mercy, I was going to say one thing, that when you go to the questions that they have to do in their breakaway rooms, maybe you could ask if they understand the questions and if they have any questions about the terms that are used in those questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you so much. Yeah. So we are going to be breaking our way into rooms, and I hope that by now we are all identifiable by the countries where we are, because we are going to have 4 groups, working groups with 4 case studies, where participants from countries that we'll tell you shortly will be assigned specific case studies. So I hope that we've managed to identify ourselves so that we can be put into these groups. So each working group will have 15 minutes to discuss their case studies and answer 3 out of the 7 questions that we shared on Tuesday. And so the questions that you answer are entirely up to you. But what would be important is maybe you can pick one person, or one person can volunteer to take notes, and one person can volunteer or can be picked to be the group representative, who will then engage with the public forum to tell us your deliberations and your answers to the questions and which questions you would have answered. And then, so you will have 2 to 3 minutes if you are the group rep to tell us what your discussions actually generated. And then after you tell us, we will open the floor to participants for 5 minutes to also ask if they have any questions. And I made a note to also say that when questions are asked, they are not directed to one person who's supposed to be the expert. They are directed to the entire forum for us to be able to answer and engage. But in the first 5 minutes, the questions, when the forum is opened, the questions that will be, the observations and questions that will be coming from other participants will be directed to the group members. I hope that's clear. So we are going to have 4 working groups with four case studies. Each group will have 1 case study. You will have 15 minutes to discuss. You will have someone taking notes, someone, maybe the same person taking notes. If they feel that they will speak better if they take the notes themselves, they can come back to the forum, and if they can keep to 2 minutes, it will even be better to give us back their deliberations. And then after they give us their deliberations, we'll have 5 minutes to engage as the entire forum on what the group, on the work that the group would have done. Thank you. Can we move on to the next one? Yes, we can move on to the next slide. Yes. So breakaway room 1, case study 1. What we are calling case study 1 is documentation. It's a document titled Documentation of Gender Responsive Pedagogy as a Best Practice by the Forum of African Women Educationalists, FAWE, for participants. So this is for participants from Ethiopia, Liberia, Malawi, Namibia, South Africa, and Tanzania. I'm also going to be joining this group and participating, or just paying attention to what's going on. And answering any questions that may arise and clarifications. Breakaway Room 2, case study 2 is promoting gender equity and equality of access to quality basic education in Northern Ghana, what is called the Wing School model. And this is for participants from Eritrea, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Mozambique, and Uganda. And this group will be assisted by one of our coordinators, Gabrielle. And then Breakaway Room 3, case study 3, is school-related gender-based violence prevention pilot project that was done in Zimbabwe called a Whole School Approach 2018 to 2020. And this one has been assigned to participants from Eswatini, Somalia, South Sudan, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And you will be assisted by one of our coordinators, Yvonne. And Breakaway Room 4, case study 4, the political economy of girls' education in Rwanda is for participants from the Gambia, Kenya, Lesotho, Nigeria, and Rwanda. And you will have Marianne as your helper, our main coordinator. So if there are any countries that have not been mentioned here that have joined us today, you can feel free to join any other breakaway room that you are comfortable with. So I think I'm done unless there are more questions. Okay. So the questions, as well as the challenges, as well as the documents, the case studies, we did circulate them. So we are hoping that you have them. We didn't attach the case studies here because they are all huge documents. So we are hoping that you'll be able to use your phones or wherever you downloaded them to. But in terms of questions, we do have them. The first one is, what challenges are addressed by the intervention in the case study you are working with? At what systemic level, question number 2, do the challenges occur? Question number 3, what are the gender responsive and gender transformative policies and practices implemented or discussed in the case study? Thank you. Moving on. Does the intervention that you are working with, the case study, offer data and evidence of results? And then that's question 4. Question 5, do you have similar interventions in your country? Question number 6, what are the success indicators in the case study in your context? And question number 7, in your view, is the model in the case study transferable to your local context? So you will see as you are reading and working and discussing that it's actually possible to answer more than 3 questions because, for example, you could be answering the first 3 questions and then you could also tell us whether you actually have this intervention in your country. So, yeah. Are there any questions before we move into our breakaway rooms? Is anything unclear or would anyone like to add anything, Marianne? To our participants, if you can either ask questions now or you can also ask the coordinators that have been assigned to your breakaway room.
Hi, sorry, ma'am. It's Pumzile from Eswatini. I couldn't rename my gadgets because I'm using someone's else, but I'm in Yvonne's group just to indicate that I'm putting the right.
All right,
okay.
Thank you so
much. I'll add your name. Are you signing in with Madoda? Madoda
yes.
Kumalo's name? Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Participants, can you please take a moment to make sure that your country's name is listed after your name in Zoom? Some people have not added their name yet and they had to drop off and rejoin. So they need to do this. If you don't have your country next to your Zoom name, then we'll have to add you to a random group, which is not bad. That's still fine. Okay. Hanok, are you ready to make the breakaway rooms?
Yes, Marianne.
Can I
Yes,
ask
we
a
can.
quick question before Henok puts people into groups?
Oh, yes.
Yes, so I'm just wondering, Mercy, we have 7 questions. We're supposed to be handling 3. Are there questions that maybe are weightier than the others? Are there questions that are preferred, or do we just pick randomly?
I think it's best to pick randomly, because in the end, all of them are going to be attended, and they sort of interlap. So yeah, you can pick any question. It's fine. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so Mercy, they have 15, is it 15 minutes in the groups?
Yes, we said 15 minutes. We are also looking at the time. So if we can aim for 10 to 12 minutes, will that be okay? We are hoping that you did go through the case studies. So if we can aim for 10 to 12 minutes, that might even be better. What do you think, Marianne?
Okay, let's do 12 minutes because this is an important discussion that they're having. And
All right.
then it would be better if they spent less time speaking when they come back to the main room and they spend more time discussing right now. That's important that they have that time to analyze the article.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so Hannah, can we do 12 minutes and
Yes.
make the breakaway
So,
rooms now?
okay.
Thank you.
I'm starting it.
Yep. If you're not sure, Hannah, just put someone in any room. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, Marianne.
Marianne has joined the group. She has moved to one of the groups.
How do we move to our groups? I did not get it clearly. I'm from Malawi. I know I'm in group 1.
Yes. Yeah. So you should get
maybe this is our
notification. Hello.
Maybe this is our group, because even me, I'm.
Hello.
What country are you from, Gertrude?
I'm from Malawi, and I don't know how to move to the next group. Am I supposed to remain here?
You should move to. You should get a window to.
From Uganda.
Okay. So you'll get a
We are
window.
not sure.
Let me move you to your group.
Yeah, because the message says, please wait to be assigned. Maybe someone is coming to assign us.
No, because you haven't put your country next to your name. That's why.
We are still waiting. Maybe it went off, but I did.
Hello. Hello.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this is Sarafino. Help me go to my group. South Sudan. South Sudan.
You're already in that group. You should accept you didn't get any message?
No.
Okay. Oh, Sorry, what's your name?
My name is Sarafino from South Sudan.
Okay.
Is it done? Hello?
Hello.
Have you done it? Have you put me in the group of South Sudan?
So you're using a different name?
No, I'm using the same name, Sarafino.
Because
But
what I see here is Phyllis.
No, not Phyllis. That is Sarafino. Maybe in the connection, it did not appear. On Tuesday, it was appearing online clearly, but today, I don't know the issue of internet and that.
But can you check what your name is displayed as next in the list of participants? Because I don't see Sarafino. I see Phyllis. Okay,
Yeah, in the list of participants, it is not indicating.
Yes. Can I rename you? Maybe if you can text your name in the chat box. Let me rename you.
I'm still finding it difficult to get in my group. Hello?
Edwin, yes. What country are you from?
Liberia. I'm finding it difficult to get in my group. My internet went off and then it came back on. So
Okay. Let me move you to your team, your group.
Yes, hello. I've already signed in the chat box. My name is Sarafino.
Okay. Let me check. Yes, I can see.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Now add me to the room 3.
South Sudan. Okay. Give me. Did you get a message?
Message.
message
No.
to move you
No,
to ask you to join a group?
no, I've not seen that message. I've only seen that I'm added already in the.
Yeah, you should accept if you see a message asking
I've
you
not
to
yet
join
seen a
the
message.
group.
There's no message.
Okay, give me.
I only saw a mess. Okay.
You got it? Okay, yeah.
If you say yeah, he's inviting you to join the
Okay,
room.
you should click to join.
Okay.
Is everyone back, or are we still waiting for some people to come back? I see our numbers seem to have changed from the total
Yeah,
we have.
unfortunately, I returned before the conclusion of our session in group 2. Can you please take me back?
Shall we add some more minutes? 5 more minutes, maybe?
Mercy, is that okay? Can we, they were just beginning their discussion.
Yes, yes, please. Yes, please.
How much time can we give, Mercy?
Let's do, is 5 minutes okay, members, participants?
Yes, take me back.
Do you think 5 minutes is okay?
5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
5
thank
minutes will do. Will do.
Thank
Five
you.
minutes of course.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Are we all back from the groups?
We are very back.
We
Group
are.
four
Okay.
is back. Group 4 is
Yes.
back.
Yes,
we are here.
Okay. Which group feels very confident, wants to go first in case there's a prize?
Group 1.
Group 4 will go first.
Is there
4
a
will
time?
go.
Okay, group 4, go ahead. If I say group 1, it will look like it's favoritism because it's my group. Please go ahead. Group 4 and followed by group 1.
Thank you very much. Metsiri, can you please do it on our behalf?
Thank you so much, Ndetemu Daudi. Group 4 was on political economy of girls' education in Rwanda. So we addressed the first 3 questions, which were on the challenges that were outlined in the case study. The first challenge that we found was that there was the change in the language of mode of instruction. Over a very short period of time, they changed from French to English, which was a challenge. And we also had the challenge in expansion of basic education without proper planning, and there was lack of budget. And there was an introduction of school feeding with no funds. Yes, and there we also noticed that there was gender inequality in education. There was patriarchy in Rwanda, and we also noticed that there was inconsistency in the policy makings. The second question, let me see. It was stating at what systemic level were the challenges. So we noticed that the challenges were across all the educational levels, from primary school to secondary level. So the third question, can you please help me? What was the third question? But on that third question, the answers were, we had Vision 2020 and Vision 2050 to address the issue, and 2008 anti-gender, yes, and the introduction of the school feeding program. That's the end. My colleagues will help me where I missed.
Yeah,
In that case,
Can I add something? Yes, I was in that group. Very good presentation message. But the other thing that we saw, which was propelling their success, is a framework that they adopted, which they call a political settlement framework, whereby parties would need to be treated equitably. And the other one is political buy-in, which was very intense, whereby individuals who were politicians, prominent, like their first president, who was a woman, who was the lady president in the whole of Africa, including political parties themselves. They keep on mentioning a specific political party. All were in this reform, whereby they were trying to remedy women and girl child education. Now, they have also learned some lessons, and a key one that I noticed is that of critical moments. They are saying for your policies to be successful, even from the design up to implementation, you must be mindful of opportune moments to come up with the reforms. I just wanted to add a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ndadara. That's what we had for you, ladies and gentlemen, from Group 4.
Thank you
And
so
obviously,
much.
you're going to applaud Group 4.
Thank you so much, Group 4. I think because of our time, if it's okay, I was thinking that before we go into questions and discussions, can we give every group a chance to present their work? That might be a better approach. What do others think? What do you think, Marianne?
That's okay, Mercy. Let's give every group a chance, and then maybe there could be some cross comparisons between the groups.
Thank you. So the group that had put up their hand first was Group 1. Who is going to follow Group 1? You can decide, but for now,
in the interest of time, Group 1 is Can I come in? Hello?
Yes, Martha, you can carry on. We can hear you,
Yeah.
but I hear what the last speaker said, but it's okay. You can continue. Maybe they can just in the chat.
All right. Group 1 had picked question 1, question 4, and question 7. They were actually looking at documentation of gender responsive education. So in terms of challenges, the participants of the program had challenges in contextualizing gender, and also that the implementation was difficult because there were some economic and social challenges from a classroom level to the ministerial level in countries that this program was being tried or implemented. That was question 1. Question 4 was talking about the successes of the program or the results. In the countries where this program was being implemented, there was change in attitude of the teachers, such that the interaction between teachers and the students was good, which improved academic performance of the students. In terms of its applicability or transferability to other countries or in other contexts, the program appeared to be very much transferable, such that in other countries, they had moved it from project level and mainstreamed it into teachers' curriculum, so that whoever goes into the teaching lessons should be able to get it before going into practicing it in schools. That's all that Group 1 managed to do in the few minutes that they were given. Thank you, and over.
Exactly 2 minutes. Thank you so much, Miss Martha. Moving on to what is the next group?
Group 2.
Thank you so much. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Group 2 looked at question number 1, question number 5, and question number 7. Question number 5, we highlighted the challenges that are highlighted in the document. Lack of schools in particular communities, high rate of teenage pregnancies, poor performance in schools, migration, engagement into economic activities. And the question number 5 is looking at the similar interventions in our own country. And one of the intervention is at policy level. We came up with have joint planning and budgetary activities to ensure that gender issues are put at the front. We work with other agencies to ensure that gender issues are equally addressed as other issues in the country. Some issues emerge from the communities, and we have been able to work with the communities to ensure that these are addressed. Adolescent issues have been also addressed through coming up with alternative education programs to ensure that adolescents keep in schools. We have also come up with affirmative actions whereby female students were added some points as they enter into higher education. We have also constructed schools and gender responsive school facilities, and we have put in place parenting programs. Then number 7, it is an automatic key answer, yes. Thank I submit.
Thank you so much for your presentation. So the last group is group 3, right?
Yes, group 3.
Yes. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Group 3 was looking at SRGPV prevention, and we attempted question 1, 2, 5, and 6 and 7. The first one is, what are the challenges addressed by the intervention? Number 1, we said laws are in place, but they are not followed or implemented. An example is the Teachers' Code of Conduct, which is not so strong because it is not spelled out in black and white that you cannot beat children. This is, for instance, the case in Eswatini, where they talk of moderate chastisement, and moderate will depend on who is defining moderate. Whereas in Zimbabwe, it is clear that there is a policy in place, there are frameworks in place that says no child should be beaten by a teacher. So that is one of the challenges. And also another challenge is that even the culture is promoting the unsafe environment for children or learners, especially girls, where men are violating them at home when they're out of school. Even at school, children are not safe because of certain practices by teachers, male teachers in most cases, where these children are sexually violated. This is the case in Eswatini as well, and in other sub-Saharan countries. And then it was the issue of gender responsiveness, that the policies that we have are silent. And then another observation under challenges, it's teachers' mindset that must be changed. And from what we are seeing on the ground, teachers are still using corporal punishment. And for question 2, we looked at the institutional level, and that those are teachers at a national level, where the legislator, where our parliamentarians will not pass such laws. And then we went on to question 5, where we were looking at the question, do you have similar interventions in your country, as of that in the case study of Zimbabwe? And we noted that, yes, there are similar challenges. However, they could be modified. I mean, there are similar challenges, but there are frameworks also in place. The problem is that they are not monitored. The cases are not properly followed up. There are no laid down structures where you report, for instance, a case of abuse, be it sexual, be it corporal punishment. And then we tried to attempt question 7. In your view, is the model in the case study transferable to your local context? And indeed, because this is a case study that was conducted in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe had these indicators that they have the documentation in place, they have their framework in place, they have a policy of 2020 that says no child should be exposed to violence. And now what they are trying to do is to promote, it is to implement, it is to monitor, and it is to set up platforms for such a reporting. And I think I've represented the group submissions. Thank you. Over.
Thank you very, very much for all your presentations, and even the last one, which was very detailed, covered quite a lot. So what we can do now is quickly before we log off, because it's now 4 o'clock, but we can open the forum for a few minutes just to engage with each other. For example, we could start with asking each other questions if on our group case studies, and then have responses. For example, for myself, I would like to ask, in the last presentation, was there someone from Zimbabwe, and could they speak to the findings of the study? It's something just to think about as you are getting ready to take questions from group members. And also, when we say systemic and structural, can you now say, after going these case studies, you are able to identify the barriers and the inequalities that are happening in your own sector, in your own country? Yes. Is it Madoda Kumalo? Am I getting that? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, you are pronouncing it correct, because I'm using his gadget, but mine is not to respond. I'll leave it to the Zimbabwe guy. But it is also to mention that I think the similar case study was conducted in Uganda. I'm sorry about that. It's Uganda, Zimbabwe. I don't know if I saw Malawi. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
Yes, the school study approach. Thank you. Over to you.
All right. Thank you. Let me open the floor to questions from participants about various case studies. You can go ahead and ask. And also, if coordinators have any comments and observations that they made during the group discussions, please feel free to also chip in here and there and let us know your views. Thank you.
Yeah, Mercy. Maybe Rwanda could tell us, how come there is so much political commitment towards gender equality and equity issues? Because I haven't seen it happening in my country. I'm already beginning to see a challenge that even if it's so much wish, but on that upper wing, the political wing, often there's very little commitment and many a policy fail. So maybe they could just maybe tip us on how maybe they got them getting interested in reforms this much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Petros, are you referring to the Ghana case study? Did I get that correct, or another one?
No, the Rwandan case study. The Rwandan case study.
Oh,
whereby,
Rwanda. Okay.
Yes, like I said, we saw commitment from individual politicians level up to the political party level. There's a political party which is actually spearheading this whole thing, pushing it forward. Even the head of government seems to be taking part in that. So it's not a common thing when you come to some countries, including mine. So maybe you could tell us how come the motivation was also political, because they were saying they are from a common past, that of divisions, and then they're using that to their advantage to push issues of policy development and implementation. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Let's also try to make our questions very short so we can have time to get answers from our presenters. Thank you. Please just go ahead. Don't wait for me to pick you. If you have the answer, please go ahead and engage. Is someone from the group that was with Rwanda going to engage, or should we move on to other questions?
Mercy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let me just give my view on this aspect. The history of Rwanda says that there was a female president there, and then she made a point that she uses her position as a politician to make women rights or inequalities, to reform those human inequalities based on the position she was holding. Maybe that influence trickled down into the party. I'm just thinking aloud. Maybe people from Rwanda may have a better light on that based on the case study where I've read. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So from what I'm understanding, the question here is how can we get politicians and political parties to actually lead policy interventions and change as what happened in Rwanda? And the observation from our last speaker is that Rwanda has a very it has a particular history, and out of that, if I can just also, if I heard you correctly, and if I can also just incorporate my own thoughts, that from ever since what happened in Rwanda, there has been concerted efforts on really trying to make sure that the development there is fast-tracked. And from what I read also, and what I went through some of the literature, we saw that the difference between Rwanda and other African countries is that they've taken a cross-sectional approach where gender matters at every systemic level, and overall they are considered to be a successful example with successful indicators. Any more questions and observations?
Zimbabwe, just to add,
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Zimbabwe, can I come in?
Yes, sir, you can.
Okay, I just want to add on what we had actually, you heard from the last, the person who was reporting for Group 3, where I was. In Zimbabwe, I think like what you are saying in Rwanda, to say the issues of gender, they are taken seriously and very important at any level of the society. And we have also the political, there's also a political will to support that, to make sure that at least our children, especially the girls, are respected and also they are given the attention which they deserve. I can give an example of saying this has been supported by policies. Like I was saying, 2020 Amendment Education Act, that girls are supposed to be not supposed to be actually known, that is trying to propose love or to advance it to a child, he is actually expelled from the service. That one is very clear. And in the communities, we have village representatives who can actually take these issues to the nearest police or to the lawmakers so that if something is happened into a school and they try to hide it, we have structures in the villages and the committees, SDC committees who also run the school, representing the community. And at the same time, again, we have also complemented this by having another policy again, 2020, where the government and the ministry, they are given the second chance of a girl child. If a fellow is pregnant, after a time, you can go give birth and come back to school and supported, so that at the end of the day, they are not disadvantaged. And even when we go from school, secondary level to university level, they are given first preference. And even in the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, we are now having a directorate specifically for gender to make sure that at least the learner welfare, as far as gender, they are considered and they are taken seriously. So what we have seriously monitor using the frameworks which are in place to see that whatever we have stated in our policies is being followed at all the levels and even at school level. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was very informative. Actually, that would be good to maybe get also that some of that in writing, so we can incorporate the experiences at country level. So we've had questions, we've engaged with what's happening in Rwanda in terms of responsive policies, what's happening in Zimbabwe, the case study, those two case studies. Can we also engage with the other two? I've been looking at the comments while I'm waiting for someone to speak, and I can see that the comments are also aligned in the chat box, are also aligned to the discussion we are having. One says, Rwanda reform around girls' education offer a strikingly more coherent policy narrative. The country political settlement since RFP took power has aligned its decisions with national priorities concerning social development. And that was Neo from Lesotho. Edwin from, I'm not sure which country, says this GRP intervention model is not being seen by us at the Ministry of Education. Maybe it is here, but it has not been introduced by the Division of Education. We are going to check with them. Okay, thank you. Any questions among the participants about the other case studies which have not been engaged with? Have we engaged with all of them? I seem to have noted about 2 or 3.
Hello, Pumzile from Eswatini.
Yes.
Again,
yes.
I'm not actually responding to those case studies, but I'm actually going back to say my observation is that on gender norms, when you use the whole school approach to prevent SRGB, the gender norms are critical. So the question would be, what would be the entry point at community level? Because this, the community, the traditional structures, they still hold on to these old beliefs that this is a boy's role, this is a girl's role, the roles, the duties, that even as a girl, you come back, you go to the river, you cook, things like that. So I think if we are living the community structure, we are really missing, because that is the root of all the evil when it comes to gender stereotypes and gender norms. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mam Pumzile, for that observation. Also for identifying at what system level, right? So you're saying at community level. Yes. Does anyone want to respond? I do have 1 or 2 thoughts about what Mam Pumzile just said, based on the work that I've done myself in Zimbabwe and in South Africa, especially around gender responsive policies and communities. Is there anyone else who would like to engage before I give my own comments and we can wrap up?
I think I wanted to add that this is really very common. Even in South Sudan, the issue of culture, tradition and culture still have very big impact in girls' education. And even the games they play alone, when they come to school, they start playing football, they say, hey, education is really taking our girls away from our culture because they are now doing what men are supposed to do. So as for us, particularly the culture of having a girl married off, they don't care whether the girl is in final year, probably in senior 4, maybe to complete her examination. Girls have to beg, but they say this is the culture, the tradition, and you have to abide with it. Actually, we needed really to take strong decisions, laws, and regulations. But still, even if we have these laws, I remember in one of the section, the government there came up with a law that no girl will be married. But still, they go and do it. And if the girl refuses, you are beaten even to death. So this is really something that we needed to look into. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Esther, for that engagement. I think it speaks to what Muranda from Zimbabwe was saying, that there has to be some enforcement from community level where communities can report a person and then the police station would have to act, but then the policy frameworks that also direct to people to know what behaviors are allowable or are not would also need to be in place. So in some of the work that I've done in Zimbabwe and South Africa, feedback that we were getting was that in some instances, the traditional leaders, you know, to use the other speaker's comment that at community level is where all the evil happens. There seems to also be some evidence that traditional leaders have been engaged for quite a number of years now, and they have been incentivized to support gender equality, and some of them are really helping, and they are working with civil society. We were also hoping that there would be people from civil society that can speak and maybe share their own experiences. So unless we are saying that civil society reports may not be accurate or showing what's on the ground. And then at systemic level, I'm not sure that I would go as far as saying at community level, that's where like all the evil happens, especially when we are talking about the intersecting nature of these oppressions. We know we have evidence in some countries that the rich men are targeting also, you know, girls that are in school. And some of the research I did, I think in 2020, 2021, also showed in Southern Africa that the issue of child marriage is not only happening among certain religious sects or certain communities, it actually goes across all classes and across all religions to include everyone. So that's just a comment and an observation that I wanted to make. Even while as we are getting to close, I was wondering if there could be any, maybe one or two people can speak to their takeaway from today. Would you say that you now feel better about identifying barriers and understanding how these intersecting forms of oppression that are happening, and especially also being able to see at country level where you can play a part. I know I'm saying a lot in 2 seconds, but maybe 2 people can engage with that. And do we have also any coordinators that would like to comment from the different groups that you were in?
Yeah, can I make a comment, Sarafino?
Yes, Mr. Sarafino.
Sarafino from South
I also
Sudan.
want to make a comment from Nigeria.
Okay, can we start with Sarafino and then go, Mr. Sarafino, then go to Miss Effie?
Okay, from the today activities, I think it is very important to engage the politician very much, because the politicians are part and parcel. They are the ones sometimes even taking off, these young girls from schools. We have experience on that. And another thing is also to engage seriously the community leaders and the parents. Sometimes they cover up. Something happened, they don't want to just to reveal it out, and then they solve the issue by paying dowry and this and everything like that. We need to engage.
Thank you, Mr. Sarafina. I don't know if you can hear me, because network has been quite epileptic here, but this is Effie from Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Please go
ahead. Can you
hear
me, please?
Yes, we
can. Thank you for this privilege. In Nigeria, a lot of the observations and comments made are the same. You find that community engagement with the traditional leaders help to a very large extent to bridge and reduce the issue, especially of early child marriage. That is one. Two, like Mr. Sarafina said, these things are perpetrated by the political class. It will shock you to realize this. So please, there's a lot of engagement that needs to be done with the political class. However, in Nigeria, we are still consulting. We have developed a national gender policy in education. And we feel as the education sector that this policy, when fully implemented, will awaken the consciousness, will bring the girl to par, will make the girl realize her potentials, her opportunities in life, and then it will make her seek to realize those opportunities that she's aware of now. In addition to that, because we are still consulting with the government, with everyone, every stakeholder that is involved in this process, even the civil society organizations, we're still consulting with them. As we stand, we're going to have a consultative meeting on re-entry of adolescent girls who fell pregnant and want to go back into the conventional formal school system. So these are some of the efforts that we're putting into place in Nigeria. We have developed a document, a guideline, and we are looking at getting this guideline to have approval from what we call the National Council on Education. After which, we expect, we are believing that we'll be able to pass it across to all stakeholders, from the civil society, to government, to the private sector, to the churches. We're also looking at churches, because some of these ills are perpetrated by church leaders and organizations. So we're not looking at just a one-sided thing. Well, I agree with your comments earlier that it is not a one religion thing. It is across board. It is happening in schools, it is happening in the churches, it is happening with the other religion, it is happening in our communities. So it is something that we have to do a lot of sensitization and advocacy for. And if possible, I think we should raise some legislation on this so that defaulters could be held accountable for their actions. I don't know if this would help us, but I believe that if we can do it, if we can hold defaulters accountable for their actions, then we will be able to have, made some milestones. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Effie. It's unfortunate that we've run out of time, but this is a very important discussion, which I think has generated a lot of, can you please mute? I'm not sure whose microphone is on, is giving feedback. I just wanted to ask Ms. Effie, when you say you've generated a document and a guideline, are you speaking as the Ministry of Education in Nigeria? At what level are you? Hello? Okay, maybe.
Hello, I am an assistant director and I'm speaking for the Federal Ministry of Education, Nigeria.
Okay, Ministry of Education.
Yes, please.
Right, thank you so much. Yes, I just wanted to be able to, to understand where you are speaking from, because
yes,
what you are mentioning is very important, like all the things, because as we said earlier when we started the session, that we want to learn to identify the barriers so that we can act, so that we can see examples of work that's being done and work that's actually maybe examples that different countries can follow. So from my own view, maybe my takeaway also from this discussion would be the fact that there is a need across board. People feel that we need to be able to engage the political class, the communities, and also I think it speaks to the fact that it's a cross-cutting issue, and also the girls themselves and their voices. I'm not sure in the different countries. We can discuss in the third session whether the girls themselves, are they organizations or movements that are mobilizing girls to speak for themselves about the issues which they are facing, so that policy actors can understand them better. If there is no comment from our coordinators, I think at this point I will hand over to Mary Ann, maybe to speak about our third session, because I've been speaking quite a lot, and then we can close.
Yes, thank you so much, Mercy. Wow, I've just been sitting here listening to all the points, all that you're saying. This has been a really impressive, superb discussion, and I hate to end it because it seems like we're just getting started. But that's the purpose of this community of practice space, is that we're not just tied to like these 6 workshops that we're having. It's an ongoing discussion. So we really want you to join the WhatsApp group, because it's a lot friendlier and more interactive than emails, right? I mean, on WhatsApp, you can really, engage and talk to people and connect and send emoji reactions and, share a picture, a cartoon, something from a newspaper that you saw, an article. All those things we can continue to do when we leave these sessions. So this is not the end. In a lot of ways, this is just the beginning. So we're not really finishing it. Let's keep the conversation going. I want to just, because we're now 30 minutes past, I don't want to miss anybody. I know some people have already left. A couple of things in the chat box I want to draw your attention to quickly. So we're taking a quick survey to see what you're leaving today with, what you're taking away, what ideas you have, what questions you have, because we want to also address your questions. And so please take the survey link. I'm sharing it again in the chat box. It'll just take you 3-5 minutes, not 35, 3 or 5, not very long. So just a couple minutes. Also, there's the WhatsApp group link there that you can join. It's an easier way to reach people, and as I said, we're trying to use that WhatsApp group. Finally, we are aware that some of you are not getting our emails. We send an email every day about this short course. So if you're not getting our emails, it might be a problem with the Zoom registration. Can you please add your email to the chat box now? Again, if you're not getting our emails and we want to send you emails, so please add your email to the chat box if you're not getting our emails. There may have been a problem with the registration for Zoom where maybe your email didn't come through to us. So please add your email to the chat box. We will email you everything. Okay, great. I see an email from a couple people now. Great. Oh, Lesotho, Nigeria, again, Lesotho. Great. So please add your emails if you're not receiving our emails. And if you would know if you're getting our emails because I am bothering you people every day. I'm sending an email every day. You must be getting so annoyed with me. So if you're not getting our emails, please add them so that I make sure that I include you on important correspondence. Finally, Tuesday is our next meeting. We will be hearing about ministries' programs that are reaching girls, especially with school completion, retention in school, and school enrollment. So programs that are keeping girls in school, getting girls to come to school, just good programs. So we've asked a couple of countries to share. However, aside from those formal presentations that we'll be having, I want all of you to feel welcome to share. So you might want to go back and think about what is it that your country is doing that is reaching girls in a particular way. Remember that it may not be doing the same thing for boys because equity and equality are different. Historically, girls have been the ones who are lagging behind or not able to fully benefit from the education system. So although there may be now more programs for girls, and you may feel like, well, there should be more programs for boys too for equality, can we look at just the ones for that have shown successes for girls right now? The programs that are reaching girls and bringing girls to school, back to school, especially if they are pregnant or became mothers during the pandemic era or afterwards or before. So programs that are specifically targeting some of the issues that Mercy spoke about today. Go back, think about what your country is doing, and come ready to talk about it on Tuesday. And especially in terms of evidence, not just what's happening, but what has the impact of that been? We have to talk about results, impact, evidence, and not just good ideas and policy proposals, initiatives. That's all fine, but that's just the first step. We need to talk about the results of these programs. So please go back and come ready to talk on Tuesday about the results of some programs and policies in your countries that have been targeting and benefiting girls. And then we'll have a couple of countries presenting formally on that. Okay, Mercy, that's everything. I'll leave it to you to give the final word. So looking forward to seeing everybody on Tuesday. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you so much to our participants. The engagement has been amazing. And the people had so much to say in very little time, but I feel that even in the time that we had, there was so much engagement, even in the group where I was in, everyone was chipping in, everyone had something constructive, informative to say, people are sharing. So we are hoping, I've said in the chat group that if it's okay, in short, you could also share your examples in the survey. If you want to bring it to our attention in email form, I'm sure they can feel free to email you, Marianne, if that's okay, so that we can include everything in our community of practice, because that is the whole point, so that everything we are sharing can go into the community of practice. But otherwise, thank you very, very much for engaging. We apologize for going over time. Other people have left, but I can see we still have a lot of people on because people are very engaged and very, very passionate to make a difference. So you can, the other thing I can say is you can keep checking your resource folder where we are putting all the learning materials, the answers to questions, just to see if also if we are going to put anything you need to prepare for before you come, we'll make sure that we send out an email and let you know before you come next Tuesday. Thank you so much, and goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.